The massive space station called Dominion's Eye floated in the darkness between stars. It was the size of a small moon, built by dozens of alien species working together. Inside its metal halls, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for their quarterly meeting. Humans had only been part of this galactic community for 15 years, and most aliens still saw them as weak newcomers. Captain Day Wan stood in the grand conference hall, his arms crossed behind his back. He was in his mid-40s with gray streaks in his black hair and old scars on his face from Earth's past wars. Next to him stood Dr. Hana, a young scientist who studied alien animals. She kept adjusting her glasses nervously as she looked at the massive creatures surrounding them. Ambassador Jinho, the third human in their small group, wore formal diplomatic robes and tried to smile at the aliens who passed by. Most of them ignored him. The hall was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. Aliens of every shape and size filled the space. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some had scales, others had fur or smooth skin that seemed to shift colors. The air smelled strange, a mixture of different alien scents that the human ventilation masks tried to filter. Warlord Cassix approached the human delegation. He was a Vrexian, a reptilian species that had dominated the galaxy for 300 years. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark green scales that looked like armor. His yellow eyes studied the humans with obvious amusement. The representatives from Earth, Cassix said, his voice deep and rumbling. I heard your species applied for a position on the Security Council. How ambitious. Ambassador Jinho stepped forward, keeping his diplomatic smile in place. The human race has much to offer the Confederation. Our military strategies, our technological innovations, Your what? Cassix interrupted, laughing. The sound echoed through the hall, making other aliens turn to look. You have been in space for barely a moment. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are primitive. You have never even fought in a real war against other species. Captain Day Wan felt his jaw tighten, but he remained silent. He knew Cassix was trying to provoke them. A group of insectoid aliens approached. They were synthex, members of a hive mind species. They moved together in perfect synchronization, their multiple eyes reflecting light like black mirrors. One of them spoke in a clicking mechanical voice that was translated by the station's computers. Individual consciousness is a weakness, the synthex said. Humans cling to their separate minds. They will never achieve true strength, Dr. Hana whispered to Captain Daiwan. Should we respond to that? No, Daiwan replied quietly. Let them talk. But Warlord Cassix was not finished. He raised his clawed hand, calling for attention from the entire hall. Hundreds of aliens stopped their conversations and turned to watch. I propose a traditional solution to this matter, Cassix announced loudly. The arena challenge. Let each species present their most dangerous predator. We will see which creature is truly superior. If the human beast fails, they will be barred from military positions in the Confederation for 50 standard years. A murmur ran through the crowd. The arena challenge was an old tradition, rarely used but never refused. It was considered a matter of honor. Ambassador Jinho's face went pale. Warlord Cassix, surely we can resolve this matter through diplomatic channels. There is no need for— Are you refusing? Cassix leaned down, bringing his massive head close to Jinho's face. Are humans cowards as well as weak? The entire hall fell silent. Every alien eye was on the small human delegation. Captain Day One could feel the weight of that attention. He knew what would happen if they refused. Humanity would be labeled as afraid, unworthy of respect. They would be pushed to the edges of galactic society, forever seen as inferior. Ambassador Jinho closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with determination. We accept the challenge. Cassix's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. Excellent. You have 72 hours to bring your creature to the station. The rules are simple. No weapons, no technology, only a living creature from your world. The battle will be contained in the arena dome. The last creature standing wins. The Vrexian warlord turned to address the crowd. We will bring the Korthrax, the apex predator of our homeworld. It stands 4 meters tall with armored skin that can withstand plasma fire. Its claws can tear through steel and it can regenerate from nearly any wound. Its blood is acidic enough to melt flesh on contact. The aliens in the hall made sounds of approval and excitement. Many had seen the Korthrax in previous challenges. It had never lost. The Synthex Collective spoke next. We will present a Ravager drone, bioengineered for maximum combat efficiency. It possesses blade limbs capable of cutting through reinforced materials. Its neural disruptor can paralyze organic targets. It feels no pain and knows no fear. More sounds of approval echoed through the hall. The Synthex were known for their advanced biological engineering. All eyes turned to the human delegation. Ambassador Jinho looked at Captain Daewon and Dr. Hana with panic in his eyes. They had not prepared for this. They had no dangerous creature ready to transport to the station. Captain Daewon stepped forward, his military training keeping his voice steady. Humanity accepts these terms. We will return in 72 hours with our chosen predator. Warlord Kasix laughed again. I look forward to seeing what pathetic creature you bring. Perhaps one of your dogs that you keep as pets? Or maybe a large insect. The other aliens joined in the laughter. The human delegation left the conference hall in silence. As soon as they were alone in their assigned quarters, Ambassador Jinho collapsed into a chair. What have I done? He whispered. I just condemned our entire species to humiliation. We don't have anything that can fight those monsters. Dr. Hana was already pulling up her datapad, scrolling through information rapidly. We need to contact Earth immediately. We need to access the wildlife databases. Captain Daewon stood by the window, looking out at the stars. The Vrexians expect us to bring something big and impressive. The Synthex expect us to use technology or genetic engineering. And what do we do instead? Jinho asked. Daewon turned around, and for the first time since entering the station, he smiled slightly. We do what humans do best. We surprise them. The communication was sent to Earth on an emergency channel. Within an hour, a council was gathering at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters. They had 72 hours to find a creature that could survive against two of the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. The fate of humanity's reputation rested on whatever they chose to bring to the arena. On the space station, Warlord Kasix stood in his private quarters, already celebrating his victory. He had seen many species try the arena challenge over his long life. None of the newcomers ever won. The humans would be no different. They would bring some large Earth creature, a bear perhaps, or one of their big cats. It would die quickly, and the humans would learn their place in the galaxy. But Kasix did not know humans very well. He did not know their history, their stubborn refusal to accept defeat, or their talent for unconventional thinking. He was about to learn all of those things in the most unexpected way possible. The emergency meeting room in Geneva was packed with people. Military generals, scientists, wildlife experts, and government officials all talked at once, their voices rising in argument. Large screens on the walls showed footage of the Korthrax and the Ravager drone from previous arena battles. The creatures were terrifying to watch. General Taman slammed his fist on the table, demanding attention. He was a broad-shouldered man with a loud voice and strong opinions. We need to send a Kodiak bear. They can weigh over 700 kilograms and have claws like daggers. Nothing on Earth is more powerful. A wildlife expert shook her head. The Korthrax weighs 3 times that much. A bear would be crushed in seconds. Then what about a saltwater crocodile? Another voice suggested. Their bite force is the strongest on Earth. They can tear limbs off with one snap. The Ravager drone has blade limbs that can cut through steel, someone else countered. A crocodile's hide won't protect it. Dr. Hana sat at the far end of the table, barely listening to the arguments. She had her tablet in front of her, scrolling through Earth's entire database of predatory animals. Bears, big cats, crocodiles, sharks, wolves, wolverines. She studied each one carefully, reading their strengths and weaknesses. But something was bothering her. Every animal they suggested was chosen for size or strength. The alien creatures were bigger and stronger than anything on Earth. They were also engineered or evolved specifically for combat. Earth's predators had evolved for hunting prey, not fighting equally dangerous opponents. She thought about the footage she had seen. The Korthrax was massive and powerful, but it was also slow. It relied on its armor and regeneration to survive attacks. The Ravager drone was faster and more precise, but it followed programmed combat patterns. Both creatures expected their opponents to fight in predictable ways. Dr. Hana excused herself from the meeting and went to a smaller research room. She locked the door and began a different kind of search. Instead of looking for the biggest predators, she searched for survivors. She looked for animals that lived through impossible situations, that fought against creatures much larger than themselves, that refused to die no matter what happened to them. She found videos of wolverines, small fierce animals that attacked bears and drove them away from kills. She watched Tasmanian devils, barely the size of a small dog, fighting with shocking aggression. She saw footage of cassowaries, large birds that could disembowel a human with one kick. Then she found the honey badger files. Dr. Hana spent the next 3 hours watching every piece of footage the database had. She saw honey badgers break into beehives, ignoring thousands of painful stings to get at the honey inside. She watched them fight off packs of jackals taking bites but never stopping their own attacks. She saw documented cases of honey badgers being bitten by cobras, passing out from the venom, then waking up hours later and continuing to hunt the same snake. One video showed a honey badger attacking a lion that got too close to its den. The lion was 50 times heavier, but the honey badger went straight for its face, claws and teeth flashing. The lion ran away. Another video showed a honey badger that had been trapped in a cage. The animal spent hours digging through concrete with its massive claws, eventually breaking free. When humans tried to put it in a stronger cage, it stacked rocks to climb out. When they removed anything it could stack, it somehow fashioned a tool from a stick to unlock the door latch. Dr. Hana leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. The honey badger was not the biggest predator on Earth. It was not the strongest, but it had something that might be more valuable in the arena. It had complete fearlessness, incredible toughness, surprising intelligence, and a natural instinct to target weak points on larger opponents. She ran back to the meeting room and burst through the doors. The argument was still going on, now focused on whether an elephant might be suitable. "I have a proposal," Dr. Hana announced loudly. The room fell silent. General Taman looked at her with annoyance. "Dr. Hana, we are trying to find something that can actually win this challenge." "I know," she said, connecting her tablet to the main screen. "And I think I found it. A honey badger." For a moment nobody spoke. Then the room erupted in disbelief. "A honey badger?" General Taman's face turned red. "Those things weigh maybe 15 kilograms. The Korthrax will step on it like an insect." Dr. Hana brought up her research on the screen. "Please, just listen. Yes, honey badgers are small, but size is not the only advantage in combat. Look at these videos." She showed them the footage. The room grew quieter as they watched honey badgers take punishment that would kill most animals and keep fighting. She showed them the intelligence tests, the escape attempts, the seemingly insane attacks on much larger predators. "The Vrexians and Synthex are expecting us to bring something big," Dr. Hana explained. "They will prepare for power versus power. But honey badgers do not fight that way. They go for eyes, throats, soft tissue. They do not retreat. They do not feel fear like other animals. And most importantly, they can take massive damage and continue fighting." Captain Day 1, who had been silent during the entire meeting, suddenly spoke up. "In special operations training, we learned that the most dangerous enemy is not the strongest or the fastest. It is the one who refuses to quit, who finds every weakness in your defense, who does not care about their own safety." He walked to the screen and pointed at a honey badger fighting off 3 hyenas. This animal weighs 15 kilograms and is fighting 3 predators that weigh 60 kilograms each. And it is winning, not because it is stronger, but because it is more aggressive, more persistent, and more willing to target vulnerable areas. General Taman shook his head. "This is insane. We will be a laughingstock." "We are already going to be laughed at," Captain Day 1 replied. "The aliens have decided we are weak. Nothing we bring will change their minds before the battle. So let them laugh. Let them underestimate what we bring. That gives us an advantage." Dr. Hana nodded. "The Korthrax has armored hide, but its eyes and throat are vulnerable. The Ravager drone is programmed for combat, but programs can be outsmarted. A honey badger's fighting style is unpredictable. It goes low where those bigger creatures have trouble defending, and if it gets hurt, it just gets angrier." The room debated for another hour, but slowly people began to see the logic. They had nothing on Earth that could match the alien creatures in size or strength, but they had something that might survive through pure stubbornness and tactical intelligence. The vote was close, but Dr. Hana's proposal won. They would bring a honey badger to the arena. The team flew to South Africa, to a wildlife rehabilitation center that specialized in difficult animals. They met Bosung, a conservation ranger who had worked with honey badgers for 20 years. He wore heavy protective gloves and had scars on his arms. "You want to borrow one of my honey badgers for what?" Bosung asked in disbelief. After they explained, he took them to a special reinforced enclosure. Inside was a male honey badger that had been rescued after attacking vehicles in a safari park. "This one we call Ghost," Bosung said. "He survived a Cape Cobra bite that should have killed him. He fought off 3 leopards that tried to hunt him. He once dug through a steel fence to raid a military camp and steal their food." They watched Ghost through reinforced glass. The animal was busy digging a hole in the corner of his enclosure, completely focused on his task. When he noticed the humans watching, he stopped and stared at them with dark, intelligent eyes. There was no fear in that stare, only calculation and mild annoyance at being interrupted. "He is perfect," Dr. Hana whispered. Getting Ghost into a transport container required 3 people in full protective gear, several attempts and a trail of his favorite food. Even then, Ghost tried to bite through the container walls during the entire process. Fosun gave them detailed care instructions and a warning. Honey badgers do not bond with humans. They do not follow commands. Ghost will not fight for you because he likes you. He will fight because that is what he does. Just point him at your problem and get out of his way. As they prepared to leave Earth, Dr. Hana looked at the small container holding Ghost. Inside, the honey badger was calmly eating a snake they had given him, completely unbothered by the motion of the transport vehicle. "I hope we are right about this," she said quietly. Captain Daewon checked his equipment. "In 48 hours we will find out. Either we just saved humanity's reputation, or we are about to become the biggest fools in galactic history." The ship lifted off, carrying Earth's unlikely champion toward the most important battle humanity had ever faced. The human ship docked at Dominion's Eye exactly 72 hours after leaving. Captain Daewon, Dr. Hana, and Ambassador Jinho walked through the station corridors carrying a small, unremarkable transport container. Aliens passing by stared at the container with confusion. Some pointed and whispered to each other. The grand arena hall was already filling with spectators. Thousands of aliens had come to watch the challenge. Many had traveled from distant systems specifically for this event. The betting markets were extremely active, with nobody placing any money on the human creature. Most bets focused on whether the Korthrax or the Ravager drone would win, and how quickly the human animal would die. Warlord Kasich stood in the center of the preparation area, surrounded by his assistants. Behind him, in a massive reinforced cage, the Korthrax paced back and forth. The creature was even more terrifying in person than in videos. Its dark scales gleamed under the lights and each footstep shook the ground. Its claws were as long as human forearms, and its mouth was full of teeth designed to tear through armor and flesh. The Synthex Collective had brought their Ravager drone in a sealed transport pod. Through the transparent sections, observers could see the creature's blade limbs twitching with programmed readiness. Its multiple eyes scanned constantly, analyzing everything in its environment. When the human delegation arrived with their small container, the entire preparation area fell silent. Then the laughter started. Warlord Kasich approached them, his massive form towering over the humans. "Please tell me this is a joke. Did you bring your creature's food instead of the creature itself?" Ambassador Jinho kept his expression neutral. "This container holds our chosen predator." "Open it," Kasich demanded. "I want to see what pathetic animal you brought." Dr. Hana stepped forward. "We will open it in the arena as the rules state. Each creature is released simultaneously from their entrance point." Kasich leaned down, bringing his face close to the container. He sniffed loudly, then laughed even harder. "I smell a small mammal. You brought something that smells like prey. This will be over in seconds." Other aliens crowded around, trying to see through the ventilation holes in the container. Inside, Ghost was completely calm. He had eaten a large meal before being sealed in and was currently sleeping. The noise and attention from the aliens did not bother him at all. A Synthex representative approached, its mechanical voice clicking. "Scans indicate a creature of approximately 15 kilograms. This does not meet the minimum size requirements for arena combat." "There is no minimum size in the rules," Captain Daewon responded firmly. "Only that we bring a living predator from our world. We have met all requirements." The arena officials checked their rulebooks and confirmed that Daewon was correct. There was no size minimum because no species had ever been foolish enough to bring something small before. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena, translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. "Citizens of the Confederation, welcome to the Arena Challenge. Today, 3 species will test their champions in honorable combat. The crowd roared with excitement. Holographic displays showed the arena dome to the spectators, a 100-meter wide space with varied terrain. There were rock formations, artificial trees, water features, and open areas. The dome itself was made of transparent reinforced material that could withstand weapons fire. Representing the Vrexian Empire, the undefeated champion of 17 arena battles, the Korthrax. The massive predator was moved into its entrance tunnel. Its roar echoed through the station, making some spectators step back in instinctive fear. Representing the Synthex Collective, a pinnacle of bioengineering, the Ravager drone. The drone was released into its tunnel, its blade limbs scraping against metal as it moved with mechanical precision. And representing the human race of Earth, their chosen predator, the announcer paused, clearly reading information that confused them. Honey badger. Named Ghost. The laughter from the crowd was deafening. On thousands of viewing screens across the galaxy, aliens watched and made jokes about humanity's foolishness. The betting markets instantly declared the challenge already decided. Dr. Hana and Captain Day-Wan carried Ghost's container to the human entrance tunnel. They opened it carefully and Ghost emerged slowly, sniffing the air. The tunnel was dark and narrow compared to the ones given to the other creatures. Ghost looked up at the two humans with his characteristic expression of annoyed indifference. He did not understand why he had been transported across space. He did not care about galactic politics or humanity's reputation. He was simply assessing his current environment and deciding what to do next. Good luck, Dr. Hannah whispered, though she knew the animal could not understand her. Ghost yawned, showing his powerful teeth, then waddled forward into the tunnel. His gait was ungainly and slow, nothing like the aggressive postures of the other creatures. To the watching aliens, he looked like someone's pet that had wandered into the wrong place. The three humans returned to their observation box. Through the transparent walls, they could see the entire arena. Thousands of alien eyes watched them with mockery and pity. Ambassador Jinho's hands were shaking. I have doomed us all. Wait, Captain Day-One said quietly. Just wait and watch. The countdown began. On screens throughout the arena, numbers descended from 10 to 0. The crowd chanted along in dozens of different languages. 3, 2, 1. Release! The three entrance tunnels opened simultaneously. The Korthrax burst into the arena with a thunderous roar, immediately scanning for opponents. The Ravager drone emerged with mechanical efficiency, its sensors analyzing distances and trajectories, and Ghost waddled out into the light, looked around with mild interest, and then immediately started digging at the base of a nearby rock formation. The crowd's laughter intensified. On the viewing screens, commentators struggled to describe what they were seeing. The human creature appears to be digging. Is it trying to escape? Does it even understand that it is in a battle? The Korthrax spotted the Ravager drone across the arena. The two powerful creatures had been programmed to see each other as primary threats. They charged toward each other, meeting in the center of the arena with a crash that shook the dome. Claws met blade limbs. The Korthrax's acidic blood sprayed across the ground where the drone cut into its hide. The drone's armor cracked under the force of the Korthrax's strikes. The two creatures were perfectly matched, each dealing and receiving terrible damage. Ghost ignored all of this. He had found some interesting grubs under the rock and was focused on eating them. The sounds of combat echoed around him, but he was unconcerned. Dr. Hana watched carefully. He is gathering information. Look at his ears, how they move. He is tracking both creatures by sound while appearing to be distracted. Captain Day-Wan nodded. Situational awareness. He will move when he decides the time is right. After 5 minutes of brutal combat, the Korthrax and Ravager drone were both showing serious damage. The Korthrax's regeneration was struggling to keep up with the deep cuts from the blade limbs. The drone's movements were becoming less precise as hydraulic fluids leaked from damaged joints. Ghost finished his grubs and began moving along the perimeter of the arena. His path seemed random to the spectators, but Dr. Hana recognized it as the behavior of a predator studying its environment. He was learning the terrain, finding hiding spots, identifying tactical advantages. He discovered where the Korthrax had shed some scales during the battle. Ghost rolled in them, covering his fur with the scent. Now he smelled less like prey and more like the arena itself. Smart, Captain Day-Wan whispered. He is masking his signature. The Ravager drone was gaining the advantage in its fight with the Korthrax. Its programming was adapting to the larger creature's patterns. It managed to pin the Korthrax against a rock formation, its blade limbs poised to strike at the throat. And that was when Ghost decided to act. The honey badger moved with shocking speed, nothing like his earlier lazy waddle. He crossed 30 meters of open ground in seconds, low to the ground and silent. The Ravager drone's sensors were focused on the Korthrax. Its programming had not accounted for a threat from below and behind. Ghost launched himself at the drone's rear section, where the bioengineering joined mechanical components. His claws evolved to dig through hard earth and tear apart bee nests, found purchase in the soft membrane joints between armor plates. The drone's sensors finally registered the attack, but by then, it was too late. Ghost's teeth, strong enough to crack thick bones, tore into hydraulic lines and neural connectors with surgical precision. His small size was an advantage here, letting him reach places the drone could not defend. The Ravager drone spun and twisted, trying to dislodge the attacker, but Ghost held on with the grip that had made him legendary among Earth's wildlife rangers. His claws dug deeper, his teeth found more critical systems. Within 30 seconds, the Ravager drone collapsed. Its blade limbs twitched uselessly as its systems failed one by one. Ghost rode it to the ground, then calmly stepped off and looked around for his next target. The arena had fallen completely silent. Thousands of aliens stared in shock at the small Earth creature standing over the remains of the Synthex's bioengineered champion. The Korthrax roared, a sound that had terrified opponents across dozens of worlds. The massive predator was wounded and angry, its scales covered in cuts that leaked acidic blood. But it was far from defeated. Its regeneration was already working, sealing the worst damage. It lowered its head and charged at the small creature standing in the center of the arena. Ghost did not run. Running was not in his nature. Instead, he charged back. The crowd gasped. The tiny Earth animal was sprinting directly toward a creature that weighed more than 100 times his own mass. It seemed like suicide. The Korthrax opened its massive jaws, ready to swallow the honey badger whole. At the last possible moment, Ghost dove beneath the charging predator. His low profile and agility let him slip under the Korthrax's body before those massive jaws could close. As he passed underneath, his claws raked upward, targeting the softer underbelly where the armor was thinnest. The Korthrax screamed in pain and rage. It spun around, trying to catch the small attacker, but Ghost was already gone. He had darted behind a rock formation, moving with the speed and precision of a predator who had spent his entire life hunting creatures in their own burrows. Dr. Hana leaned forward in the observation box, her hands pressed against the glass. He knows. He understands that he cannot fight it directly, so he is wearing it down. The Korthrax charged again, its massive feet shaking the ground. Ghost waited until the last second, then dodged to the side. As the larger creature passed, he jumped onto its back leg and climbed rapidly upward, his claws finding purchase between scales. The Korthrax tried to shake him off, thrashing violently. But Ghost held on with the determination that had let his species survive against lions, hyenas, and leopards. He climbed higher, reaching the creature's back where its legs could not reach him. The watching aliens were silent now, their earlier laughter completely gone. They were witnessing something they had never seen before. A tiny predator was attacking one of the galaxy's most feared creatures, and the tiny predator was winning. Ghost bit down on the exposed tendons at the base of the Korthrax's neck. His teeth were not large enough to cause fatal damage, but they did not need to be. He was targeting nerve clusters and muscle connections, causing pain and reducing mobility. It was the same technique honey badgers used when hunting prey much larger than themselves. The Korthrax finally managed to scrape Ghost off by slamming its back against a rock wall. The honey badger fell several meters, hit the ground hard, and rolled. Any normal animal would have been stunned or injured by such an impact. Ghost shook himself once and immediately went back on the attack. The Korthrax was learning, though. It stayed in the center of the arena, away from rocks and obstacles that the small creature could use for cover. It watched Ghost carefully, its predator instincts finally recognizing a real threat. Ghost circled the larger creature, low to the ground. His dark eyes were calculating, patient. He had all the time in the world. The Korthrax was already wounded from its fight with the Ravager drone. Its regeneration was fast but not instant. Every second that passed was a second where those older wounds remained unhealed. The Korthrax charged again. but this time it was more careful, watching for Ghost's dodges. When Ghost moved to the side, the Korthrax anticipated it and swiped with its massive clawed hand. The blow caught Ghost and sent him tumbling across the arena floor. The crowd made various sounds of excitement and horror. Surely that was the end of the small earth creature. Ghost stood up. One of his legs was bleeding and his fur was matted with dirt and blood. He was hurt. But hurt meant nothing to a honey badger. Pain was just information, not a reason to stop fighting. He charged again, even faster this time, anger driving him forward. The Korthrax tried to catch him with another swipe. But Ghost changed direction mid-sprint, showing agility the larger creature could not match. He reached the Korthrax's front leg and immediately started climbing again, this time heading for the head. The Korthrax shook itself violently, but Ghost's claws were embedded deep between scales. The honey badger climbed with single-minded determination, ignoring the massive creature's attempts to dislodge him. He reached the head and immediately went for the eyes. The Korthrax's roar changed from anger to agony as Ghost's claws found their target. The creature's armor meant nothing here. Eyes were soft, vulnerable, and essential. Ghost dug in with both front paws, his claws tearing and slashing with terrible efficiency. The Korthrax went into a frenzy, throwing itself against rocks, rolling on the ground, doing everything possible to remove the attacker from its head. Ghost held on through all of it, his grip never loosening, his attacks never stopping. When the Korthrax finally managed to scrape Ghost off, using both of its clawed hands, the damage was done. The massive predator's eyes were ruined, bleeding heavily. It could still see shapes and light, but its vision was severely impaired. Ghost landed badly this time. The force of being pulled off by those massive claws had torn some of his own claws loose. He was bleeding from multiple wounds now. One of his legs was not working correctly, but he got back up anyway because that was what honey badgers did. The Korthrax was in worse condition. It was bleeding from dozens of wounds that its regeneration could not keep up with. It was exhausted from constant fighting, and now it could barely see. Its head swung back and forth trying to locate its tiny tormentor by sound and scent. Ghost was patient. He had learned the terrain during his earlier exploration. He used rocks for cover, moving quietly despite his injuries. The Korthrax could hear something moving but could not pinpoint the location. Captain Day-One watched with grim satisfaction. Asymmetric warfare. When you cannot match your enemy in strength, you match them in tactics. Ghost is fighting smarter, not harder. The honey badger circled around behind the Korthrax, using the creature's own poor vision against it. When he was in position, he attacked again. This time he went for the back legs, targeting the tendons that held up the massive body. The Korthrax felt the attack and spun, but Ghost was already gone, attacking from a different angle. Again and again the honey badger struck, each attack precise and calculated. He was dismantling the larger creature piece by piece, wound by wound. The Korthrax's movements were becoming slower and more uncoordinated. Blood loss and exhaustion were taking their toll. It tried to use its acidic blood as a defense, deliberately opening wounds to spray the burning liquid at Ghost. Ghost got splashed by some of the acid. It burned his skin, causing terrible pain. He hissed in anger and retreated temporarily, using a water feature in the arena to wash off the worst of it. His fur was smoking where the acid had touched it. Any reasonable creature would have retreated after that. The pain from acid burns was excruciating, but honey badgers were not reasonable creatures. Ghost simply waited for the initial burning to subside, then went back to attack the Korthrax again. The battle had been going on for over 20 minutes now. The arena was silent except for the sounds of combat. Every alien watching had stopped making predictions or jokes. They were witnessing something that would be talked about for generations. The Korthrax was staggering now, barely able to stand. Its regeneration had completely failed, overwhelmed by too many wounds. Its breathing was labored and its movements were uncoordinated. It could no longer track Ghost's position at all. Ghost made his final move. He ran directly at the Korthrax's head one last time. The massive creature tried to snap at him but was too slow. Ghost jumped, his trajectory perfect, and landed on the Korthrax's snout. Before the creature could react, Ghost scrambled up its face and sank his teeth into the throat. His jaws were not large enough to cause instant death, but they did not need to be. He bit down and held on, his teeth finding the major blood vessels in the neck. The Korthrax thrashed one final time, a desperate attempt to remove the attacker, but Ghost had made his death grip. the same hold that allowed honey badgers to kill prey much larger than themselves. His teeth were embedded deep in tissue, his jaws locked with muscle that could maintain pressure for hours if necessary. The Korthrax's movements became weaker. Its roars turned to gasps. The massive creature took a few stumbling steps, then collapsed to its knees. A few seconds later, it fell onto its side. Ghost held on through all of it, never releasing his grip. He stayed locked onto the throat for a full minute after the Korthrax stopped moving, making absolutely certain his opponent was truly dead. Finally, he released his bite and climbed down from the massive corpse. He was covered in blood, both his own and his opponent's. His fur was burned in places from the acid. One of his legs was injured. Several of his claws were broken. He looked like he had been through a war. Ghost walked to the center of the arena, sat down, and began grooming himself. The battle was over, and cleanliness was important. The fact that thousands of aliens were watching him meant absolutely nothing. For 10 full seconds, the arena remained completely silent. Thousands of aliens stared at the small Earth creature sitting calmly in the center of the battlefield, grooming blood out of his fur. Behind him lay the massive corpse of the Korthrax, the undefeated champion that had won 17 consecutive arena battles. To his left were the broken remains of the Ravager drone, the Synthex's pinnacle of bioengineering. Then the silence broke. The crowd erupted into noise, but it was not laughter this time. Aliens were shouting in shock, disbelief, and something that might have been fear. The betting markets crashed as millions of credits changed hands. Commentators across the galaxy struggled to describe what they had witnessed. Dr. Hana was the first to move in the human observation box. She grabbed the medical kit and ran toward the arena entrance. Captain Daewon followed her, moving with military precision. Ambassador Jinho stood frozen, his mouth open in shock. The arena officials opened the entrance tunnel, and Dr. Hana ran inside. Ghost looked up from his grooming as she approached, his dark eyes watching her with mild annoyance. She knelt down several meters away, not wanting to startle him. "Hey, Ghost," she said softly. "Let me help you." Ghost considered this for a moment, then apparently decided the human was not a threat. He allowed Dr. Hana to approach and examine his injuries. His leg was badly bruised but not broken. Several claws were torn and he had acid burns on his side. But he was alive, conscious, and already showing signs of his species' remarkable healing abilities. Captain Daewon entered carrying a transport container. Getting Ghost inside required some careful work, but the honey badger seemed tired enough to cooperate. Once secured, they carried him out of the arena while thousands of aliens watched in stunned silence. Warlord Kasich stood in the preparation area, staring at the container. His earlier arrogance was completely gone. When the humans passed him, he stepped into their path, forcing them to stop. "What was that creature?" he demanded, his voice shaken. "What kind of predator fights like that?" Dr. Hana adjusted her glasses, barely containing her satisfaction. "A honey badger. Mellivora capensis, a mid-tier predator from Earth. We have hundreds of species more dangerous." This was not entirely true. Honey badgers were among Earth's toughest animals pound for pound. But the aliens did not need to know that detail. Kasich stepped back, his scales shifting colors in what might have been fear. "Mid-tier? You have hundreds of creatures more dangerous than that." "Earth is a difficult world," Captain Daewon said simply. "Our animals evolved to survive in very harsh conditions. They learn to fight, adapt, and never give up." The Vrexian warlord looked at the container holding Ghost with new respect. "We have underestimated your species." "Yes," Daewon replied. "You have." The news spread through the galactic network faster than light-speed communication. Within hours, every civilization in the Confederation had seen footage of the battle. The video was analyzed by military strategists, biologists, and philosophers. A small Earth creature weighing 15 kilograms had defeated two of the most dangerous predators in known space. The reactions varied. Some species expressed admiration for the honey badger's tactics and determination. Others expressed concern about what else Earth might be hiding. Several military academies immediately requested information about Earth's combat philosophy. The Synthex Collective sent a formal message to the human delegation. "We have analyzed the battle footage 17,000 times. The creature called Ghost displayed tactical intelligence we did not believe possible in individual consciousness. We have underestimated Earth. Any world that produces such fearless creatures must have shaped equally formidable sapience. The Synthex Collective withdraws all objections to human participation in Confederation military operations. Similar messages arrived from dozens of other species over the following days. The political landscape had shifted dramatically in humanity's favor. 3 days after the arena battle, the Confederation Security Council held an emergency session. Captain Daewon and Ambassador Jinho attended, while Dr. Hana stayed behind to monitor Ghost's recovery. The council chamber was filled with representatives from the most powerful species in the galaxy. They looked at the two humans with very different expressions than they had shown a week earlier. The council leader, an ancient being from a species that had been exploring space for millions of years, spoke first. The humans have proven themselves through the traditional arena challenge. However, there are concerns we must address. If this honey badger represents a mid-tier predator from Earth, what are your apex predators capable of? Captain Daewon had prepared for this question. Our apex predators include large bears that can weigh 800 kilograms, big cats that hunt in coordinated packs, crocodiles with bite force that can crush bone, and great white sharks that rule our oceans. But the most dangerous predator on Earth is not an animal. The council members leaned forward, curious and concerned. The most dangerous predator on Earth is humanity itself, Daewon continued. We survived the same harsh world that created the honey badger. We learned the same lessons about adaptation, persistence, and tactical thinking. We climbed to the top of Earth's food chain not because we were the strongest or fastest, but because we were the smartest and most determined. Ambassador Jinho added, We do not seek conflict with the Confederation, but we will not be dismissed or underestimated anymore. Earth is ready to contribute to galactic security on equal terms. The council debated for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. Humanity was granted provisional membership in the Security Council. They would have limited voting rights for 5 years, during which they would prove their capabilities in actual operations. Captain Daewon was promoted to Galactic Liaison Officer, responsible for training alien forces in human combat tactics. His first class had over 50 students from 20 different species, all eager to learn how humans had defeated seemingly superior opponents. Dr. Hana became the director of the new Comparative Xenobiology Institute, a joint human-alien research facility dedicated to studying Earth's wildlife. Her first published paper, titled Evolutionary Tenacity, What Earth Survivors Teach Us About Combat Effectiveness, became required reading in military academies across the galaxy. Ghost recovered fully from his injuries within 2 weeks, showing the remarkable healing abilities his species was known for. He was given a luxury habitat at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters, with enrichment activities, favorite foods, and a comfortable den. He was completely unaware that he had become the most famous animal in galactic history. Security camera footage showed Ghost's daily routine. He spent his time digging elaborate tunnel systems in his habitat, testing the strength of walls and doors, and occasionally escaping to raid the facility cafeteria. His caretakers learned to treat him with the same respect they would give to a dangerous weapon. Several alien species requested permission to study Ghost or acquire honey badgers for their own purposes. All requests were politely declined. Dr. Hana made it clear that Earth's wildlife would not be exported for military purposes. The phrase, Earth Standard, entered galactic vocabulary. It meant something that was tougher, more persistent, and more dangerous than its appearance suggested. Military units that showed exceptional tenacity in difficult situations were given the informal title honey badgers by their peers. 6 months after the arena battle, Captain Daewon received a visit from a young Vrexian officer named Minho. He had been assigned to study human combat tactics and had shown exceptional aptitude. Sir, I have watched the arena footage many times, Minho said. I still do not fully understand. How does such a small creature defeat opponents so much larger and stronger? Daewon gestured for Minho to follow him. They walked to the observation window overlooking Ghost's habitat. The honey badger was currently attempting to dig through reinforced concrete, completely focused on his task. Look at him, Daewon said. He weighs 15 kilograms. He has no natural armor, no venom, no advanced weaponry. By all logical assessment, he should not be a successful predator. But he is one of the toughest animals on Earth. Do you know why? Minho studied Ghost carefully. His determination? Partly, Daewon agreed. But more importantly, he does not know he is supposed to lose. When Ghost faced the Korthrax, he did not see a creature that was bigger and stronger. He saw a target. He saw weak points to attack. He saw a problem to solve, and he refused to quit until the problem was solved. He turned to face the young Rexian. Earth is a death world. Our planet tried to kill us with predators, diseases, natural disasters, and environmental extremes. But we survived. We adapted. We thrived. And we did it by never accepting defeat, by finding creative solutions to impossible problems, and by fighting with intelligence rather than just strength. And humans share this trait? Mingyo asked. Daewon smiled grimly. Every human alive is a descendant of survivors who refused to die on a hostile planet. We fought our way to the stars not because we were given an easy path, but because we carved that path through solid rock with our bare hands when necessary. Ghost did not win because he was special. He won because that is what Earth's creatures do. We survive, we adapt, we overcome,